All right. So, my first question for you was what is it like for you when you were growing up with dyslexia?
Yeah. So growing up with dyslexia, I can just like imagine myself like being back in the classroom and how I would look at instructions on a piece of paper and wouldn't know what is going on and people
Yeah.
around me were moving they seemed to know what was going on and I would just being able to like read words off a page, it was almost like I was just looking at a blank picture. And you would ask, "Hey, what am I supposed to be doing?" And people would just say, "Read the directions," and it would kind of put you back into that same spot. So there was a lot of frustration, I think, being in the classroom, and just having trouble kind of figuring out how to maneuver with reading and writing being challenges. I think the other thing I would say is like I'd always have ideas in my head, but being able to put that onto paper, be like I'd have a whole sentence in my head, but I would maybe write 2 or 3 words. But
Yeah.
how about you? It sounds like you can relate a little bit to some of
Yeah,
that.
my experience was definitely pretty similar. I remember when I was younger, I'd pretend like I was reading the book. We had a
Oh,
reading class and stuff, and I thought something was like different because all the other kids could read, and I was like, "What's going on?" But I definitely had a really similar experience. I had to do a lot of tutoring
yeah.
outside of school after a long day at school too. So
How'd
yeah,
you find that, like, to be, like, going to the tutors after a long day of school? Like, how draining is that?
yeah, it's rough.
I can definitely relate.
Yeah. Yeah. So my next question for you is what is it like being a dyslexic adult? And do you have any advice for other kids with dyslexia?
Yes, I can definitely answer both those questions. I think first as someone who is an adult with dyslexia, there's still challenges that I will face, whether it's reading a menu, trying to read material fast in a way, especially if I'm in a meeting situation. Those are all going to be challenges. So anything I can do to kind of help prepare myself ahead of being in those rooms, whether I read the documents, an hour before I get into a meeting, that's super helpful. Scanning a menu before going to a restaurant, that's there's definitely tricks, but it definitely still pops up for me as an adult with dyslexia. I think the other thing about it, and I think it leads into your next question, is also being an adult with dyslexia. I do recognize there's a responsibility to help students that are struggling through it right now because there's a lot of differences on being on the other side of being outside the classroom, that it's almost a privilege to be outside of the classroom in some respects. So I definitely feel a responsibility to help kind of support and advocate for those that are going through it. And I think my advice to I give it to younger people and myself, and it's two words that somebody gave me, which I found really helpful is rather than approaching it, I felt dumb in the classroom. I felt like I was stupid and that I didn't really belong there. And I think looking back, I would have approached it with, instead of that judgment, I would have just approached it with curiosity and energy.
Hmm.
Like, oh, why is this challenging for me? Or what can I do to make this less challenging for me?
Yeah.
Versus like putting a harsh judgment of being stupid because it's not true. We know that dyslexia doesn't affect our intelligence,
Mhm.
but it sometimes feels that way. How about you? Like, can you relate to any of that?
Definitely. I definitely felt dumb and stupid in class. And I would like that advice for sure because I feel like it changes your mindset.
What are tools and strategies that you use in the classroom to help you?
So tools and strategies that I use are voice typing. So that helps me get out my thoughts that I have in my head. Um, or listening to audiobooks. It's really helpful.
I can
But
definitely relate to
yeah,
audiobooks.
audiobooks are the best. Um,
Uh, oh, go ahead.
I've learned that communicating with my teachers is really important because they're not going to know how to help me unless I communicate on what I need and what's going to work best for me.
Thank you, Jared. Your running the distance scholarship and advocacy will help so many of my future classmates. 30% of us need financial assistance to go to school here, and I wouldn't want money to be the reason for a kid to miss out on park. To all of Jared's friends and family who are watching this, thank you for honoring Jared by donating to his efforts here at Park Academy.